The morning sun spilled across the long stretch of the hospital parking lot. Its golden light bouncing off the polished windshields and glass doors. Nurses rushed in and out. Doctors carried tablets. Ambulance crews pushed gurneys. And patients waited on benches with quiet desperation etched across their faces. Amid all this motion, Raymond Carter sat inside his old silver sedan, gripping the steering wheel harder than he intended. He had been sitting there for almost 5 minutes, staring at the large hospital entrance as if it were a battlefield. Today wasn't like every other day. Today he wasn't here for a checkup. Today he was here to fight. Raymond inhaled deeply, steadying the tremble in his fingers. The cold air from the AC brushed over his skin, but it did nothing to calm the thunder inside his chest. His breath fogged slightly from nerves, though the morning was warm. He finally turned off the engine, grabbed the folder sitting on the passenger seat, and whispered to himself, "You can do this. You have to do this." He opened the door, stepped out, and shut it gently, his mind replaying the same memory that had haunted him for months. Oh, flashback. 8 months earlier, the sterile smell of disinfectant hung in the air as Raymond sat beside his teenage daughter Alicia, who lay weak in her hospital bed. Machines beat steadily beside her, the sound mixing with distant footsteps echoing through the hallway. Alicia forced a small smile when she saw her father's worried expression. "Dad, stop looking at me like that." Raymond tried to laugh, but it cracked halfway. "I'm your father. I'm supposed to look at you like this." Alicia shook her head gently and whispered, "I'll be fine, just tired." He brushed her hair back, and for a moment, the world felt still. Then the door opened. In stepped a woman in a crisp white coat, her blonde bob perfectly styled, her badge swinging with each step. Dr. Catherine Warner. She didn't smile. She rarely did. She didn't greet him. She never did. Instead, she looked directly at Alicia and said, "Your insurance still hasn't approved the treatment. Until then, we can only continue with basic care." Raymond stood up immediately. "What do you mean insurance hasn't approved it? We applied weeks ago." Dr. Warner crossed her arms, her voice distant, almost annoyed. "It's not my problem, Mr. Carter. If you can't pay, we can't move forward. I have other patients." Alicia's weak fingers clutched her father's hand. Raymond felt something inside him snap, but before he could speak, Dr. Warner turned and walked out as if Alicia's life was an inconvenience. Hours later, Alicia's condition worsened. And the next morning, his world fell apart. Back to present day. Raymond blinked, trying to push away the memory, though it clung to him like smoke. He walked toward the entrance with heavy, yet determined, steps. His shoes echoed across the concrete, blending with distant ambulance sirens. Every part of him felt anchored by grief, but fueled by a fire he couldn't ignore. As he entered the lobby, the scent of coffee, warm pastries, and antiseptic welcomed him. The line at the front desk was long, but he didn't need to wait. He knew exactly where he was going. Straight to the administration office. Straight to the woman who stole months of his daughter's life with her arrogance. He pushed through the glass doors and stepped inside. Behind the counter, 3 women were typing, answering phones, and shuffling papers. A young receptionist with brown hair looked up and smiled politely. "Good morning, sir. How can I help you?" Raymond set the folder onto the counter with a firm thud, making her jump slightly. "I need to speak with Dr. Catherine Warner." Her smile faded. "Dr. Warner is very busy today. Do you have an appointment?" Raymond's jaw tightened. "No, but she'll want to see me." The receptionist hesitated, then swallowed. "May I ask who you are?" Raymond held her gaze, voice steady but cold. "I'm Alicia Carter's father." Her eyes widened. She remembered. Everyone remembered. The controversial case. The news article. The investigation. The whispers in the hallways. She slowly nodded and reached for the phone. Raymond didn't wait. He already knew where Dr. Warner's office was. He had been there countless times, begging for action, begging for compassion, for anything. He walked through the hallway, ignoring the surprised looks from nurses and staff. When he reached the familiar office door, with the plaque Dr. Catherine Warner, head of internal medicine, he paused. His hand hovered above the doorknob. His heart thumped. And then, he pushed the door open. Inside the office, Dr. Warner sat at her sleek wooden desk, typing rapidly on her laptop. Her white coat hung neatly behind her. Awards and certificates lined the wall, polished and proud. She looked up with clear irritation. "Mr. Carter, you can't just walk in here." Raymond stepped inside, closing the door behind him. "You and I need to talk." She sighed dramatically and leaned back in her chair. "About what now?" "I told the administration I'm not responsible for your insurance issues." Raymond's fists tightened at his sides. "This isn't about insurance." Warner raised a brow. "Then what?" Raymond reached into the folder, pulled out a stack of documents, and dropped them on her desk. She glanced down, but as she scanned the first page, her face stiffened. It wasn't hospital paperwork. It was something else. Alicia's medical timeline. Internal communication notes from nurses. Treatment delay reports. A record of Warner's negligence. Her expression darkened. "Where did you get this?" Raymond stepped closer, eyes locked on hers. "I'm not here to argue. I'm here to give you one chance. Before I expose everything." Dr. Warner opened her mouth to respond, but Raymond's next words froze her in place. "You let my daughter die." Silence swallowed the room. Her fake confidence flickered for the first time. Raymond leaned in, his voice a low whisper full of pain and steel. "And now, you're going to answer for it." The sun dipped lower behind the warehouse district, casting long orange shadows across the loading bay as Marcus adjusted the strap of his worn leather duffel bag. He had spent most of the afternoon organizing crates, sweeping aisles, helping new hires, even though none of it was technically in his job description. Quiet work kept him grounded. It kept him from thinking too much. But as he stepped outside to catch a breath of air, he felt that old tension crawl through his shoulders. The same tension that always appeared right before something went wrong. And something was definitely wrong. A black SUV sat parked across the street. Engines still running. Headlights dimmed but not off. Too polished for this part of town. Too still. Too deliberate. Marcus didn't look at it directly. Instead, he walked toward the side alley, pretending to check the trash bins, pretending the creeping fear in his bones wasn't real. He had lived long enough to know when eyes were on him. Inside the warehouse, voices echoed, some muffled, some sharp like knives slipping between ribs. New workers whispering, supervisors pacing, someone arguing in an office. Something heavy was brewing, and the air felt like rain right before a storm. He pushed the back door open slowly and stepped inside again, scanning the aisles. Most of the workers were gone. Only a few forklifts hummed idly near the far wall, lights blinking like slow, tired heartbeats. Then he heard it. Footsteps, quick ones, coming straight toward him. He stiffened. A young woman turned the corner, her breath unsteady. She couldn't have been more than 22. Her uniform vest hung awkwardly on her small frame, and her name badge sat crooked. Lena. But it was her face that froze Marcus in place. Fear. Pure, shaking fear. "They're looking for you," she whispered, voice cracking as she grabbed his sleeve. "You need to go. Now." Marcus stayed still, unreadable. "Who is?" Lena swallowed hard and looked over her shoulder before pulling him deeper between the shelves. "I don't know who they are," she said. "But they're not police, and they're not management. They came out of nowhere, asking about a man who minds his business, keeps to himself, and works in shipping. That's literally how the supervisor described you." Marcus's jaw clenched. The SUV. He had been careful for years, never leaving patterns, never staying in one city too long, never giving anyone a reason to follow him. So how did they find him now? "You didn't tell them anything?" he asked quietly. Lena shook her head so fast her ponytail hit her cheek. "Of course not. But the supervisor, I think he suspects something. He practically rushed them inside." Marcus cursed under his breath. He didn't like dragging innocent people into anything, but danger was here now, and pretending otherwise would get someone hurt. "Did you hear anything else?" he asked. Lena hesitated. "Just one thing. The tall guy, the one with the scar on his cheek. He said they only needed the package, and then he pointed at your locker." Marcus's pulse stopped cold. They didn't want him. They wanted what he carried. The duffel bag. The thing he had been running with for 6 months. The reason he couldn't return home. The reason he barely slept. And suddenly, the warehouse felt too small, too exposed, too alive with danger. He took a step toward the rear exit. But Lena grabbed his wrist. "You can't go out there. They're waiting on every side." Marcus paused. He didn't have time to argue. Instead, he reached into his bag and pulled out a folded jacket. "Put this on," he said. "What? Why?" "You're going home early, through the side gate. Don't talk to anyone. Don't stop for anyone. And don't come back tomorrow." Chiffon, her eyes widened, but... "No arguing," Marcus said firmly, but gently. "You did me a favor by warning me. Now let me return it. Leave, right now." She hesitated, just a moment, but then nodded and slipped out the emergency side door. Marcus waited until the footstep echoes faded completely. Then the warehouse lights flickered. Once, twice, then went dark. Tuffant, Marcus exhaled sharply. He wasn't afraid of the dark. He had spent too many nights surviving inside it. But this darkness was different. This one came with the metallic click of doors locking. Kiffant. From somewhere between the aisles, voices rose. He's still inside. Check the east side. Scarface said he's carrying something valuable. We get it tonight. Kiffant. Marcus crouched low behind a stack of crates. Their footsteps were soft but steady. Professional. Not amateurs. Not random criminals. These were trained men, possibly ex-military, possibly hired muscle. He touched the zipper of the duffel bag. He could almost feel the weight of the secret inside it. The secret powerful people wanted back badly enough to send hunters after him. 3 shadows moved between the shelves. Marcus shifted silently. Years of training waking up inside his muscles. He grabbed a wrench from a nearby tool cart, gripping it like a weapon as he moved deeper into the warehouse maze. Then he saw him, the man with the scar. A long, jagged line running from ear to chin. Eyes cold, smile cruel. "Come out, Marcus." Scarface called, voice echoing across the metal walls. "We don't want to kill you. But you know how this goes. Make it easier on yourself." Marcus's grip tightened. He wasn't going anywhere. Not until he found out who sent them. Not until he protected the one thing in his bag that could change everything. The footsteps grew louder, closer, and in the suffocating darkness of the warehouse, Marcus prepared for the storm he could no longer outrun. The warehouse echoed with footsteps that felt too calculated, too synchronized to belong to ordinary criminals. Marcus pressed his back against a metal rack, listening carefully as 3 sets of boots spread across the north aisle. One pair moved toward the forklift area, the second circled near the loading dock, and the third, the scarred man, stepped directly into the center aisle, confident enough to walk in the open. That confidence told Marcus one thing: Scarface believed he already won. Marcus scanned his surroundings, tracking shadows, listening for the faint scrape of shoes. The warehouse lights flickered again, as if warning him the blackout wasn't an accident, but part of a plan. Someone had cut the power. Someone who knew the layout. Someone who wanted Marcus trapped. Scarface's voice cut through the darkness like a sharp blade. "Marcus," he called, slow and taunting. "Don't make this harder. You've been running for 6 months. You're tired. We know that." Marcus didn't move. Scarface continued, voice dripping with mock sympathy. "You've been sleeping in cheap hotels, changing jobs, carrying that little bag everywhere, like a scared kid hiding a toy." One of the other men laughed quietly. Scarface smirked, the sound of it traveling through the shelves. "You know what the funny thing is?" he said. "All this time, we didn't care about you. Not really. We only wanted what's inside that bag." Marcus tightened his grip on the wrench. He could feel the cold steel pressing into his palm, grounding him. The first man suddenly shouted, from across the loading dock, "Nothing here." The second followed, "West aisle clear." Scarface chuckled. "You're running out of places to hide." Marcus inhaled slowly, steadying his pulse. He could vanish in darkness better than any of them. He had done it many times before, years ago, when he lived another life, the life he never talked about. Only one thought mattered now. Protect the bag. Protect what's inside, no matter the cost. Footsteps approached from the left aisle. Marcus ducked behind a pallet of boxed appliances, heart pounding in controlled rhythm. He peeked through a gap between boxes and spotted one of the hired men quietly stalking forward, flashlight beam cutting through the darkness in thin, white stripes. Marcus waited. Waited. As the man stepped closer, Marcus shifted behind him, silent as a shadow. When the man was within arm's reach, Marcus struck, clamping one hand over the man's mouth while dragging him behind the crates. The wrench connected with a sharp thud. The man collapsed instantly. No killing yet, not unless necessary. He wasn't that man anymore. Marcus eased the unconscious body to the floor and pocketed the man's small 2-way radio. Just as he clicked it off, Scarface's voice crackled through another channel. "Report." Silence. Scarface waited a beat before speaking again, irritation creeping into his tone. "Do not make me repeat myself. Where's your status?" Marcus allowed himself the smallest, quietest exhale. One down. He moved again, stepping deeper between the racks, watching shadows move in the distance. The second man approached from the east aisle, sweeping with his flashlight, checking under tables, behind boxes. This one was more experienced. Slower steps, controlled breathing, body lowered in a trained stance. Marcus positioned himself behind a stack of heavy crates and reached for a loose metal pipe resting nearby. As the man turned his back, Marcus tossed the pipe toward the opposite aisle. The sharp clang echoed like a firecracker. The man spun instantly, flashlight darting toward the noise. Perfect. Marcus stepped forward, hooked his arm around the man's neck, and dragged him into darkness. The struggle was short, silent, efficient. Marcus held him until the man's body went limp. 2 down. Scarface would be getting suspicious. Marcus dragged the body behind a rolling cart and checked the man's belt. Knife, flashlight, 2-way radio. He turned the radio off and continued moving. Only Scarface remained. He could hear him somewhere near aisle 7, boots slow and heavy. Scarface was no longer calling out Marcus's name. He was listening, trying to sense movement, trying to feel vibrations in the floor. Smart man. But Marcus was smarter. He slipped into the shadows of the tall shelving units and climbed 2 racks up, positioning himself above the aisle. From this height, he could see Scarface more clearly as he checked corners with a tactical grip on his weapon. Scarface spoke aloud, voice lower now. "You can't protect it forever, Marcus." Marcus stayed silent. Scarface continued switching aisles, scanning shelf labels, stepping carefully. "You know what's in that bag. You know what it can do. You think carrying it makes you a hero." Marcus's pulse ticked faster. Scarface knew too much. He didn't just know the bag existed. He knew its purpose. Scarface stopped near the forklift, turning in a slow circle, shoulders raising as he inhaled deeply. "You're not the first one who tried to run with it," he said, almost conversationally. "And you won't be the last fool who dies over something he doesn't even understand." Marcus's eyes narrowed sharply. The last fool who died? Who? Who else had tried to protect the secret? As Scarface took another step forward, Marcus dropped from the shelf silently, landing behind him like a shadow separating from the wall. Scarface turned, too late. Marcus pinned him from behind, wrench at his throat. Scarface didn't panic. He laughed. A slow, cold laugh that made Marcus grip the wrench tighter. "You think killing me will fix this?" Scarface sneered. Marcus growled. "Maybe not, but it will buy me time." Scarface grinned wider, unfazed. "You have no idea who's coming next." Marcus froze. Scarface used that moment, elbowing him hard in the ribs and rolling away. Marcus staggered, but recovered quickly. Scarface lifted his weapon, but Marcus kicked it aside, sending it skidding under a shelf. They circled each other in the dim light. "I was hoping you'd fight," Scarface said. "Makes this more interesting." Marcus didn't respond. He lunged. They collided with a crash that sent tools flying. Scarface landed a brutal punch to Marcus's jaw, but Marcus countered, slamming Scarface into a crate. Scarface growled and grabbed a discarded crowbar. Metal clanged. Sparks flew. Bodies slammed into crates and racks. Marcus's mind narrowed to one focus. End this before reinforcements arrive. Scarface swung again. Marcus ducked, grabbed the crowbar mid-swing, twisted it from his grip, and smashed Scarface across the shoulder. The big man dropped to one knee. Marcus pressed the crowbar to his throat. "Who sent you?" he demanded. Scarface spit blood and smiled. "Everyone." Marcus's stomach dropped. Scarface whispered, "You can't hide the bag. They already know where you are." He pointed toward the warehouse windows with a weak chuckle. "And they're coming." Marcus turned. Lights were approaching. Dozens of them. Headlights. Engines. Doors slamming. They weren't done. Not even close. And Marcus realized something terrifying. Engines roared outside like a rising storm. Marcus's chest heaved as he stood over Scarface, the crowbar still pressed to the man's throat. Bluish headlights poured through the high warehouse windows, cutting across dust-filled air. Doors slammed, voices shouted. More men. More trouble. Scarface coughed out a laugh, each breath coated with pain. "I told you," he rasped. "You're not ready for what's coming." Marcus's grip on the crowbar tightened. The urge to end this, right here, right now, flickered in his veins like lightning. But killing Scarface wouldn't stop the cars outside. It wouldn't stop the people who sent him. It wouldn't protect what was in the duffel bag. And that was all that mattered. Marcus dropped the crowbar with a loud clatter. Scarface sucked in a sharp breath, stunned that Marcus let him live. "Why'd you stop?" he coughed. Marcus stepped back, eyes cold. "Because I don't answer to them anymore," he said quietly. "And I won't become like you." He turned away. Scarface grinned despite the pain. "You'll wish you finished this when you had the chance." Marcus ignored him and sprinted toward the storage office near the back wall. As he moved, the warehouse shook with the rumble of more engines pulling up. Someone shouted near the loading dock entrance. Heavy metal doors rattled. He kicked open the office door and stepped inside, slamming it shut behind him. The small room was bathed in faint emergency light. Filing cabinets stood crooked against stained walls. A cracked desk sat under a dirty window, crowded with old paperwork and empty coffee cups. In the corner sat his locker. He crossed the room in 3 steps, spun the dial, and opened it. The duffel bag stared back at him. Plain, worn, harmless to anyone who didn't know. He pulled it out carefully and laid it on the desk. From outside, boots pounded against concrete, echoing through the thin walls. The warehouse main doors groaned as someone tried to force them open. Shouts turned into barked commands. "Check every aisle. He's inside. Don't let him get out." Marcus unzipped the bag slowly. There it was, a slim black case. No branding, no marks. Just cold, polished metal with a digital lock pad on top. 6 numbers, 6 digits that could change lives or end them. He rested his fingers on the surface for a moment, staring at the faint reflection of his face in the metal. A flash of memory hit him. A small office, a shaking man in a suit, a trembling confession. They were hiding deaths. They were hiding experiments. They were hiding what they did to people who never knew their names were in a system at all. Marcus had watched the video files in that case once, just once. It was all he could take. He'd seen enough to know. If the wrong people kept this, innocent families would keep losing loved ones while someone up the chain called it collateral damage. And that was the moment he walked away from his old life. The moment he took the case and disappeared. Outside the office, someone tried the handle. Marcus snapped back into the present, grabbed the black case, and shoved it under his jacket. He zipped the duffel bag back up and slung it over his shoulder. It needed to look like that was still where the important thing was. The doorknob rattled again, harder this time. "Open it," a voice growled from the other side. Marcus looked at the small window above the desk. It was dirty, clouded, and barely big enough for a grown man to squeeze through. But he had no other choice. The first hit landed on the office door. Wood splintered. He climbed onto the desk, pushed at the bottom of the window, and felt the old metal frame give way with a squeal. Cold air rushed in from outside, carrying the smell of exhaust fumes and distant rain. Another impact hit the door. It cracked inward. Marcus forced the window up higher, pulled himself through with both arms, and winced as the rough concrete scraped his back. He gritted his teeth and pushed harder, slipping through just as the office door exploded open behind him. He rolled onto the gravel outside and dropped into a crouch behind a stack of wooden pallets. Inside the office, a man's voice shouted, "He's gone. Check the back lot." Marcus stayed completely still, muscles tight, lungs burning. He listened. 4 or 5 men rushed through the room. Someone stepped toward the window. "Did he go out here? Spread out. Check the perimeter." Footsteps broke away in different directions. A flashlight beam swept across the pallets, then moved on. Marcus waited 10 long seconds. 15. 20. Then he moved. He stayed low, making his way along the wall of the warehouse. The ground sloped slightly toward a drainage ditch, cluttered with weeds and plastic bottles. Beyond that, a chain-link fence stretched across the property line. And beyond that fence, freedom. Or at least, a little more time to run. He checked the angles. 3 SUVs sat parked near the loading dock. Men in tactical vests and dark jackets moved between them, guns at their sides, radios crackling. Too many to fight. Not enough cover to sneak past. He scanned the lot again. A narrow lane ran along the side of the building toward the far fence. A single security light flickered above it, throwing off more shadow than illumination. That was his path. He slipped into the darkness along the wall, footsteps silent, breaths controlled. Every sound felt louder in his mind than it was in reality. The rustle of his jacket, the scrape of gravel, the soft jingle of the duffel strap buckle as it brushed his side. Someone shouted from the front lot, "Check the side." He might head for the fence. Marcus's pulse surged. They were closing in. He pushed faster, hugging the wall, until he reached the edge of the building. The chain-link fence was only a few yards away now. A small sign hung crookedly from it. No trespassing. He almost laughed. Of all the rules he had broken, that one barely mattered. He grabbed the fence, ready to climb. "Stop right there," a voice came from behind him. Calm, steady, too close. Marcus didn't turn around immediately. He took one breath, then another, then slowly looked back over his shoulder. Scarface stood at the corner of the building, one arm wrapped in makeshift bandaging from where Marcus hit him earlier. He had a pistol now, aimed directly at Marcus's chest. Behind him, 2 more men stepped into view, guns out, eyes cold. Scarface smiled, though pain flickered in his eyes. "You're good," he admitted. "Better than the others. I'll give you that." Marcus's grip tightened on the fence. "But this is where the running ends," Scarface said. Marcus swallowed the dryness in his throat. "If you kill me," he said, voice low, "you'll never know where I sent the duplicate." Scarface's expression twitched. The men behind him exchanged quick looks. "What duplicate?" Scarface asked, cautiously. Marcus stared at him, unblinking. "You really think I've been carrying the only copy around this whole time?" he said. "Like some rookie? Come on. You know me better than that." Scarface studied him closely, searching his eyes for a lie. Marcus didn't flinch. Finally, Scarface lowered the gun just slightly. "Where?" he asked. Marcus almost smiled. "You're not the one I'll be telling." Scarface's jaw clenched, frustration creeping in. "You're making this difficult." "That's the idea," Marcus replied. Scarface took a slow step forward. "You're not the hero in this story, Marcus. You never were." Marcus's voice dropped. "I'm not trying to be." He looked him dead in the eyes. "I'm just trying to make sure people like you don't win." For a moment, no one moved. Then all 3 men turned their heads at the same time. Distant sirens wailed, "Getting closer." Scarface cursed under his breath. "Who called them?" One of the men snapped. Scarface's eyes snapped back to Marcus. "You," he demanded. Marcus didn't answer. But deep inside, a memory flashed. Lena, running out the side gate, phone in hand, tears in her eyes. He hadn't told her to call anyone. She did that on her own. Scarface lifted the pistol again, finger tightening on the trigger. The sirens grew louder. Tires screeched near the front entrance. Shouts, orders, radios. The world sped up all at once. Scarface took another step closer and whispered, Time's up. Marcus knew he had one move left. One final risk. One last chance to change how this ended. He took. Gunfire cracked through the night, like lightning tearing open the sky. Marcus dove sideways as Scarface fired, the bullet slicing past his shoulder and sparking against the chain-link fence. Gravel dug into Marcus's palms as he rolled, pulling the duffel bag tight against his body. The world became a blur of headlights, shouting, gunshots, and heavy boots pounding across the warehouse lot. A second bullet tore through the air. Marcus lunged behind a stack of discarded metal crates, just as the impact rang off the panels like a bell. The noise rattled in his skull, but adrenaline drowned everything else. He pressed his back against the crates, chest heaving. Scarface shouted, "San out! Don't let him reach the fence." The men split like wolves, circling a deer. Marcus peeked around the crate. The path to the fence was still clear, but only for a moment. He didn't have time to think. He didn't have time to hesitate. He sprinted. Boots thundered behind him. Flashlights swung wildly, slicing through the darkness. "He's running," someone yelled. "Take the shot." Marcus zigzagged across the gravel, his breath burning, legs pumping hard. He jumped, grabbed the fence, and hoisted himself up with every muscle screaming. Bullets snapped past his arms. A chunk of metal flew off the fence where a shot hit. He climbed faster. Scarface shouted, "Shoot his legs if you have to. Just stop him." Marcus reached the top of the fence, swung one leg over. A bullet tore through his jeans, grazing his thigh. Pain ripped up his leg like fire. He hissed, but didn't stop. He threw himself over the fence and hit the ground hard on the other side. The fall knocked the air out of his lungs. His vision flickered around the edges. But he forced himself up. He had to move. He grabbed the duffel bag and pushed into the thick row of shrubs that lined the back of the industrial property. He ducked behind trash bins, squeezing into the darkness between backyard fences and rusted-out equipment. The sirens were blaring now. Police cruisers turned into the warehouse lot, lights flashing, sirens echoing off every metal surface. Officers shouted orders. Engines revved. Radios crackled. Marcus stayed low, heart pounding so hard it felt like it might crack his ribs. He limped deeper into the shadows, every step sending pain shooting up his leg. Behind him, chaos erupted. "Hands where I can see them," an officer yelled. Shots fired. "Drop the weapon." More shouting, more scrambling, more running. Marcus didn't look back. He couldn't. If he saw who got caught, who got away, it would slow him down. He didn't have seconds to spare. Not with what he was carrying. He reached the edge of the property and climbed over a short gardening fence into a dark, quiet suburban yard. A porch light flicked on in the distance. A dog barked somewhere down the street. He wiped the sweat from his forehead with a shaky hand and braced himself against a wooden fence, trying to breathe. He needed to get out of sight. He needed to get somewhere safe. He needed, "Hey," a soft voice whispered. Marcus froze. A figure stepped out from behind a small shed. A woman. Small frame, hoodie, face barely visible in the dim light. Marcus's hand shot to the inside of his jacket where he had hidden the black case. "Don't come closer." The woman raised her hands slowly. "It's me." Marcus squinted. Lena. His entire body sagged with disbelief. "What are you doing here?" he whispered sharply. "I told you to go home." She took a careful step forward. "I did. But the police wanted to know what was happening at the warehouse. When they saw those men with guns, they asked questions. I told them you were still inside." Marcus rubbed a hand over his face. Lena, I didn't tell them everything, she said quickly. Just that you were in danger. Marcus looked away, jaw clenching. Her decision may have saved his life, or it might complicate it even further. You shouldn't have gotten involved, he said softly. Lena swallowed hard. Too late. Marcus let out a shaky breath. We need to move. They'll be swarming this area. She nodded and moved beside him, offering her shoulder. You're hurt, she murmured. It's nothing, Marcus said. It wasn't true. The blood trickling down his leg told a different story. They moved quietly through the backyards, slipping between shadows until they reached a narrow side street lined with old brick houses. Most windows were dark. A streetlight flickered weakly overhead, buzzing like a dying insect. Marcus leaned against a telephone pole, his face tightening with pain. We can't stay outside, Lena whispered. They'll sweep this whole grid. I know, Marcus said, but I can't risk going somewhere crowded. She hesitated before pointing down the street. My cousin lives 2 blocks from here. He's on night shifts all week. The place is empty. No one will notice if we slip in. Marcus studied her face. Fear, determination, and something else. Loyalty she had no reason to give him. He nodded. Lead the way. They moved quickly, keeping low, slipping into the unlit corners of the neighborhood. Marcus's limp got worse. Each step was a knife, but he didn't stop. He never stopped. Finally, Lena halted in front of a 1-story house with peeling paint and overgrown bushes. This is it, she whispered. She retrieved a spare key hidden under a loose brick and unlocked the door. They slipped inside, closing it quietly. Darkness wrapped around them. Lena flicked on a small lamp in the living room, casting a warm glow on mismatched furniture and old family photos. Marcus set the duffel bag on the couch and sank down, exhaling. For the first time in hours, he could breathe. Lena knelt beside him. Let me see the injury. I'm fine, he muttered. She gave him a look. Marcus sighed. He lifted his pant leg. The gash was deeper than he expected. Blood soaked his skin. Lena's eyes widened. You need stitches. No hospitals, he replied. Marcus said immediately. I know, she replied, already rummaging through the kitchen drawers. I have a first aid kit. Hold on. As she disappeared into the hallway, Marcus leaned back and closed his eyes. His muscles throbbed. His heart pounded. His mind raced through every possible outcome. Scarface was right about one thing. This wasn't over. And the people coming next? They'd be worse. He opened his jacket slightly, looking at the black metal case hidden beneath. 6 digits. 6 numbers that could dismantle an empire. Lena returned with the first aid kit and knelt beside him, gently cleaning the wound. Marcus winced, but didn't move. You shouldn't be doing this, he murmured. She tied the bandage tightly. Someone has to. Marcus looked at her. Really looked at her. You realize, he said quietly, that helping me might paint a target on your back. Lena didn't stop wrapping the bandage. I realize someone out there is trying to kill you, and I'm not letting that happen. Marcus's breath caught for a moment. He didn't ask for her loyalty. He didn't deserve it. But he had it anyway. She finished the bandage and sat back. What now? She whispered. Marcus rested a hand on the duffel bag beside him. Now, he said slowly, I tell you the truth about what I'm carrying. Lena's eyes widened. And why those men will burn this whole city down to get it. The room felt smaller, quieter, heavily charged. Lena whispered, I'm listening. Marcus opened the duffel bag, and the secret inside the case finally prepared to come into the light. Lena stared at the duffel bag as Marcus slowly unzipped it. Her breath caught in her throat. The small lamp beside them cast long, trembling shadows across the room. It made everything feel tighter, closer, like the walls themselves were leaning in to listen. Marcus reached into the bag and pulled out the object he had risked his life for. The slim, black metal case with a digital lock pad. No labels, no trademarks, no hint of what it carried. Lena swallowed. What is that? Marcus rested the case on the coffee table between them. His fingers hovered above it, hesitant, almost afraid of what revealing the truth might cost both of them. You ever heard of Callister Industries? Marcus asked quietly, eyes fixed on the case. Lena frowned. The pharmaceutical company. They're always in the news, donating to hospitals, funding medical research. Aren't they supposed to be good? Marcus gave a humorless laugh. Lena shifted closer. What does this have to do with them? Marcus rubbed a hand over his face, the memories tightening his jaw. I used to work for them. Lena's mouth fell open. You? I was a systems analyst. Low level. No authority over anything. But I had access to incident logs, security footage, internal reports. Things I wasn't meant to see. Things that... His voice faded. He swallowed hard. Things that haunt you, if you ever come across them. Instead of stopping the trial, they adjusted the dosage and tried again. Lena's eyes widened. That's illegal. It's more than illegal, Marcus muttered. It's murder disguised as research. Silence engulfed the room. Marcus tapped the metal case lightly. All the proof is in here. Video, documents, financial transactions. Enough to tear Callister Industries apart. Lena leaned back slowly, absorbing everything. You stole it, she whispered. Marcus nodded. I had to. When I confronted one of the directors about what I found, he didn't deny it. He just told me to forget it and go back to work. Marcus's jaw tightened. That's when I knew what kind of machine I was dealing with. So you took the files, Lena said softly. And the moment they realized what I had, Marcus replied, they put people on me. People like Scarface. Shadow contractors. Not official employees. Deniable assets. Lena hugged her arms around herself. And you've been running ever since. Marcus nodded once. I left everything behind. My home, my job, my friends. I kept moving from city to city, small towns, night shifts, places people wouldn't look twice at me. Every time they got close, I moved again. Lena's voice trembled. But why now? Why did they find you here? Marcus stared down at the case, his reflection warped in the dark metal. I don't know, he whispered. But someone tipped them off, and they're not stopping this time. Outside, a car drove by slowly. Its headlights briefly illuminated the curtains. Marcus instinctively reached for his knife, shoulders tensing. Lena placed a hand on his arm. It's okay, just a car. Marcus forced himself to breathe, lowering his hand. I'm sorry, he said quietly. I've dragged you into something dangerous. Lena shook her head. You didn't drag me. I walked in. He stared at her, confused and grateful all at once. Why? He asked softly. Lena hesitated, her voice barely a whisper. Because I saw the look in your eyes when you told me to run earlier. You weren't protecting yourself. You were protecting everyone around you, including me. People like that. People who put themselves last. She shook her head gently. They're rare. Marcus looked away, emotion flickering in his chest, like an unwelcome flame. Just then, the floorboards of the house creaked. Both of them froze. Marcus stiffened. Did you hear that? Lena nodded, eyes wide. Another creak. Closer. Marcus grabbed the duffel bag and shoved the metal case back inside. He zipped the bag and slung it over his shoulder in one swift motion. He held a finger to his lips and whispered, "Back door, now." Lena moved silently toward the kitchen. Marcus followed, every sense sharpened, ears straining for more sounds. Another creak. This time from the hallway. Someone was inside. Lena's breath hitched, but Marcus shook his head. No panic, not now. He reached for the back door, slowly turned the lock, and eased it open. The cool night air hit them immediately. Crickets chirped softly. A dog barked in the distance. They stepped outside. The moment Marcus closed the door behind them, a shadow moved past the hallway window. Too late. Marcus grabbed Lena's wrist. "Run!" They sprinted across the backyard, weaving around broken lawn chairs and overgrown plants. Marcus ignored the burning pain in his leg, pushing through it with sheer force of will. Behind them, a back door burst open. Heavy boots hit the porch. Lena gasped, "Marcus, they found us." Marcus didn't look back. "Keep running." They reached the tall wooden fence at the back of the yard. Marcus boosted Lena up first, and she scrambled over. He climbed next, wincing as his thigh screamed in pain. A gunshot cracked. The wood beside his hand splintered. Lena grabbed his arm from the other side, pulling with all her strength. Marcus dropped down beside her just as another bullet tore through the fence. They ran again, between narrow alleyways, across cracked pavement, ducking behind sheds and fences. Finally, they reached an abandoned prefab garage with a rusted roll-up door. Marcus yanked it open, ushering Lena inside. He followed, slamming it shut. Darkness swallowed them whole. Lena collapsed onto a crate, clutching her chest. "Marcus, we can't keep running like this." Marcus leaned against the wall, breathing hard. "I know." "We need a plan," she said, voice shaking. "We need to get this, whatever is in that case, to someone who can help." Marcus nodded silently. "I might know someone," he whispered at last. Lena looked up. Lena swallowed hard. "Where do we find them?" Marcus unzipped the duffel bag and pulled out a single folded piece of paper, yellowed with time. On it was an address. P from input. Lena read it out loud, whispering. 3 Pines Motel, room 17. Marcus nodded. Eyes dark. Dawn crawled slowly over the quiet edge of the city, painting the horizon in soft gray and faded gold. The streets were almost empty, the kind of silence that only exists for a short time before the world wakes up again. Marcus and Lena walked along the side of the highway, hoods up, eyes scanning for movement. The bandage on his leg was stiff with dried blood, but he kept pace, jaw set. The duffel bag hung from his shoulder, the metal case inside pressing cold against his side. Ahead of them, a faded neon sign flickered weakly. 3 Pines Motel. Vacancy. The building looked tired, 2 stories of peeling paint, chipped doors, and a parking lot with more oil stains than cars. A lone vending machine hummed near the office. A couple of cracked chairs sat abandoned outside one of the rooms. Room 17. Marcus stopped at the edge of the lot and watched. "Anyone watching?" Lena whispered. He scanned the windows, the roofline, the road. No black SUVs. No strange silhouettes. No glint of scopes. Just a sleepy, aging motel, hugging the edge of the highway, like it had given up trying to impress anyone. "Looks clear," he murmured. They crossed the lot quietly. When they reached room 17, Marcus paused, his hand hovering above the door. "You okay?" Lena asked softly. He almost laughed. "Last time I saw him," Marcus said, "we weren't exactly on the same side of things." "You sure he'll help?" she asked. Marcus looked at the door, eyes heavy. "He warned me," he said. "Before this all started. I didn't listen. That's on me." And back. He took a breath and knocked. No answer. He knocked again, a little firmer. A soft click sounded from inside. The deadbolt turned. The door opened just enough for a single brown eye to stare through the gap. Then the chain slid free. The door opened fully. The man standing there looked like an older, rougher version of Marcus. Same eyes, same jaw. But with a few more scars and a deeper tiredness. "Hey, little brother," he said quietly. "Hey," Marcus swallowed. "Hey, Aaron." They stood there for a moment, just looking at each other. Years of distance, choices, and regrets pressed between them like an invisible wall. Lena shifted awkwardly, hands in her pockets. Aaron stepped aside. "Get in. If they're not here yet, they will be soon." They slipped inside. The room was small and plain. 2 narrow beds, a scratch table, a buzzing air unit. A half-empty bag of chips sat open next to a laptop on the table. A map was pinned to the wall with thumbtacks, covered in circles and lines drawn in red ink. Aaron shut the door and locked it again. "I saw the news," he said without turning around. "Police raid at the warehouse. Gunman on the run. Unidentified suspect escaped." He finally faced Marcus. "Didn't need them to say your name," he added. "I knew it was you." Marcus dropped the duffel bag onto the bed. "They're getting bolder," he said. "They almost had me." Aaron nodded grimly. "They're desperate. The board is terrified this thing will get out." Lena took a small step forward. "You know about the case?" she asked. Aaron nodded once. "I know what's inside it. I was part of the security team that tried to keep it buried." Lena's stomach twisted. Marcus frowned. "You didn't tell me that." "You didn't want to hear it then," Aaron replied. "You still believed reporting to legal would fix it. You thought the system would correct itself if you just told the right person." He shrugged. "I knew better." They held each other's gaze. 2 different paths crashing back into the same moment. "Are you still working for them?" Marcus asked quietly. "No," Aaron said. "They tried to make me disappear when I refused to sign a new contract. I disappeared on my own terms instead." He gestured to the shabby room. "Welcome to witness protection. My version of it, anyway." Marcus nodded slowly. The anger he expected to feel never came. Aaron sat at the table and opened his laptop. Callister has friends in high places, judges, politicians, media executives. If you hand this over to the wrong authority, it disappears and you disappear with it. Lena frowned. "So who do we trust?" Aaron clicked open a secure messaging window. "There's one reporter," he said. "Independent, not owned by any major outlet. Been chasing rumors about Callister for years. Didn't have proof. Until now," Marcus said. Aaron nodded. "We send her everything. We don't ask permission. We don't negotiate. We give her the whole truth, all at once. No time for Callister to spin the story." Marcus hesitated. "You think that's enough?" "No," Aaron answered honestly. "They'll still try to discredit it. They'll say the footage is faked. They'll call you unstable. They'll smear everyone connected to you." He looked up at his brother. "But once the truth is out there, it never fully goes away. And they know that. It weakens them. It opens investigations. It gives victims and families something they've never had before. Proof." Lena swallowed hard. "Do it," she whispered. "Send it." Marcus looked at her, then at his brother. "You're both in if I do this," he warned. "There's no going back." Lena's chin lifted. "I never wanted an ordinary life," she said. "Not if it means standing there and pretending not to see wrong things happening in front of me." Aaron gave a small nod of respect. Marcus turned the case around, entered the 6-digit code, and opened it. The laptop screen glowed as Aaron began transferring the files. Video after video. Document after document. Transaction logs. Emails. Internal reports. Hidden patient records. Test subjects labeled with numbers instead of names. Faces flickered across the screen. Some old, some young. All human. Lena covered her mouth as she watched. She whispered. They just used people. Marcus stared at the screen. His eyes burned, but he didn't look away. They did, he said. Not anymore. The progress bar crawled slowly, inch by inch. Outside, a car passed by. The motel sign buzzed. Somewhere in another room, a TV played a morning news anchor's cheerful voice. Inside room 17, 3 people sat shoulder to shoulder, watching a truth finally claw its way into the open. When the upload finished, the laptop chimed softly. Aaron typed a short message. Here it is, no edits, no cuts, no filters. Do what you do best. Expose them. He hit send. And just like that, the secret Marcus had carried for months was no longer his alone. Silence filled the room. What now? Lena asked, voice barely above a whisper. Aaron exhaled slowly. Now we move. They'll trace the leak. They'll know it came from somewhere near here. You can't stay. We've been running for months, Lena said, glancing at Marcus. Will we ever stop? Marcus looked at his brother. We stop, he said quietly. When people like them start running. Aaron almost smiled. You might get your wish sooner than you think. He shut the laptop and stood. I know a place you can lay low for a while. It's not pretty, but it's safe. Safer than this. Marcus picked up the now empty case, feeling its lightness for the first time. The weight in his chest eased just a little. He looked at Lena. You can walk away, he said. Right now, clean, before it gets worse. She shook her head. I started as a warehouse worker, she said, just trying to pay rent. Somehow I ended up here, and for the first time, I feel like I'm doing something that matters. Marcus studied her face. You're sure? She nodded once. I'm sure. Aaron opened the door and glanced out, scanning the lot. Let's go before the world realizes what you just did, he murmured. They stepped out of the room together. The air felt different, not safer, not calmer, but honest. Far away, in another part of the city, a reporter's inbox lit up. Soon, her screen would be filled with things no one was supposed to see. Soon, the world would hear the story. Callister Industries would deny it. They would hire lawyers. They would threaten. They would fight. But the truth was no longer theirs to hide. As Marcus, Lena, and Aaron walked away from the motel, the rising sun caught in the motel's dirty windows, casting 3 long shadows on the cracked concrete. They didn't know what would happen next. They only knew this. They weren't running away anymore. They were moving forward. And for the first time in a long time, that felt enough. Thank you for watching this story till the end. If this journey of truth, courage, and sacrifice touched your heart, don't forget to like the video and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Tell me in the comments, what would you do if you held the truth in your hands? And if you want more cinematic, emotional stories like this, hit subscribe and turn on the notifications. Until next time, stay brave, stay honest, and never be afraid to stand up for what's right.